Hey, good morning, and welcome to another fabulous edition of the Flight Plan. This weekend was a fun weekend. It was the culmination of the NFL draft, and I love following the draft. I think it's really a great way to kind of anticipate what your favorite NFL team is going to, by adding players, how do you think they're going to do for the following year? And so as it's progressing and you're seeing the people that they're drafting, it was fun to kind of hear their messages. And one of the things that resonated with me on this week was a conversation that one of the coaches had. And it's fun to see this emotion from the player who's been chosen by a particular team. And as I was watching all this, just kind of something dawned on me, and I cannot for the life of me remember who the player was. But I was on Twitter, looking up a bunch of stuff for the New Orleans Saints, and another team had posted this video. And it went something like this. The coach calls the player, and the player answers, and he's like, "Hey, we're gonna pick you. How do you feel about that?" And the player's like, "Oh, coach, man, that's great. And he said something to the coach that I thought was remarkable, and it was an aha moment for me. And he said, "Coach, I'm going to show up. I'm going to show up early. I'm going to show up every day. You're going to be so proud of me." He goes, I can't wait to show you all the great things that I can do." And the aha was simple. He wants to beat everybody else. And in order to do that, he's got to show up. He's got to show up early, and he's got to practice hard so that when the time comes for the actual game time, he's totally prepared. So the message for today is, if you want to be a great player, if you want to be chosen to represent a client, you have got to be great. You've got to focus on practice. You've got to go through rehearsals. You've got to go through repetition. You have to know the things in order to be great at your profession. Now, these guys, they show up in the gym. They show up at practice. They want to go through repetitions. They want to know the right angles, how to block, how to tackle, how to throw, how to catch, how to run. What are the techniques behind all those things? And they spend hours and hours doing this. And what I've recognized through my time in real estate, and I've been guilty of it too. This isn't pointing fingers at anybody in particular. I'm really kind of talking to myself when it comes to these types of things, is that one thing that I know I've done very well through my 20 years of being a real estate agent is I show up, and I work hard, and I practice, and I work towards the specific goals of being better. And I feel like after 20 years of doing this, I've finally reached the overnight success story. So if you really want to be just like that guy who got drafted in the NFL, show up. Create your practice regimen. Are you working through contracts? Are you working through scripts? Are you working through role play? You have to do these types of things to be better at representation. So the thing that also hit me this morning that I thought was pretty neat was lead generating. And we talk about it all the time. I mean, constantly, lead generation has to be the number one thing to think about when you are working towards building your real estate business. There are probably 100 different ways to lead generate. You could lead generate from farming, networking, cold calling, lead purchasing. I mean, there are so many different directions that you can go down. And one thing that I think is really important is there are a lot of professions out there that will do it for you. Now, the good thing about that is that you have the opportunity to do it for yourself and not spend a bunch of money on shiny objects or things like that. Just get down into the nitty gritty of lead conversion, and it starts in the lead generating aspect. So people ask me all the time, what are the best ways to lead generate? And I would always default back to your database. Are you reaching out to your database at a high level? And this is where it goes back to the conversation about the NFL player. He's going to show up to work every single day. If you show up to work every single day with a commitment to having a conversation with a specific number of people that creates your level of success. For some, it may be 100 people a day. For some, it may be 5 people a day. You have to have that target to reach out to these people. And it can be done in a multitude of ways, but it just has to be done with the goal of getting an opportunity to meet somebody for a real estate appointment so that that appointment will create the conversation. The conversation could turn into a potential contract, and the contract turns into closings. It's not difficult. It just takes repetition and activity. Just like that guy's going to come in and into the practice field, he's not committing to it for every day for a full year. He's committing it to a specific amount of time. He's taking time off. He's going out with the family. He's going out and doing some things, but his commitment to success is huge. And it's shown not only he's not an overnight success just because he got drafted by the NFL today. He's had success in high school. He's had success in college, which turned into the opportunity for a team, just like a client calling and saying, hey, we want you to come and work for us. Are you getting your lead generating activities dialed into a specific point that says to the consumer, hey, I want to hire you? And here's another question that I would ask them. Would you, based on your activities of the last week, would you hire you as a real estate agent? That's a big, big question. You know what activities you did. Were you successful? Did you do them? And were you successful in creating appointments? Were you successful at those appointments creating the conversations? Were you successful in writing a contract? Were you successful in a closing? It's this domino effects. It starts off with rehearsal and practice. You've got to do this while lead generating. Be better at conversations. Be better at your job. Know your inventory. Know the challenges of a mortgage. Understand all of it. If you're not going to work, whether it's at a home office or in a dedicated space, you're missing out. You can be a part-time agent and be a really good one, but in order to be really successful in this business, you've got to lead generate a specific number of hours every single week. The industry standard is 3 hours, but if you're not doing that 3 hours a day, you think of it this way. A really, really good friend, one time we were at a real estate conference, and he was talking with a group of people, and he basically came out and said, if you want to make $1 million selling real estate, talk to 100 people every single day. And I would never forget, somebody raised their hand and they said, well, what if you want to make $250,000 selling real estate? He said, talk to 25 people every day. So depending upon how much money you want to make, and I will bet you the people that are calling 5 people a day probably are the guys that are making $50,000 a year. And if you're not calling 5 people a day, you're the ones that are probably not going to be in the business for very much longer. So all that being said, it was wonderful to see and hear the excitement and the enthusiasm of this NFL guy, this draft rookie about to go into a career in the NFL, making a commitment to his coach that you are not going to be disappointed in me. You are going to love my work ethic. I'm going to show up. I'm going to be there early and I'm going to be there late, and I am going to be great. Does that sound like you? Are you making those types of things to yourself, kind of those commitments to yourself that you're going to be great? Are you showing up? Show up, show off, and go out and have some conversations about selling real estate. And at the end of the day, that will drive high levels of success for you. And I'm focused today on my lead generating. I have 5 listings. One of the first times in a long time that we've had 5 listings. My coach calls those uncashed checks because they haven't been signed, meaning there's no contracts on them. So I've got the opportunity for some revenue to come in from these 5 listings that I've worked really hard in order to secure these listings. Now I need to work on price reductions. I need to make sure that we're priced right. So my goals today is to make sure that these listings are priced right. I want to make sure that we are doing the right level of marketing. Are they reaching the right people? I'm going to change all of the descriptions and the property descriptions in the MLS and all the resources that I can to go do that. I'm going to plug into listings to leads today, and I'm going to make sure that those listings are being distributed to my social networks appropriately. I want to create videos, fresh videos for all 5 listings. I want to promote those socially. And I'm going to work on a budget of $250 for this 1 week that I'm going to promote these properties on all of my networks. And this will generate the right number of leads, hopefully the right number of buyers. It will also help me find new sellers, simply because I believe in order to find listings, you need to find buyers. These are the people that probably have a home to sell in order to purchase. You can dive into your database. You can dive into your database and ask a super simple question. If you found your dream home, would you sell your property? And if you could get this much for your property, would you sell it? So these are my activities this week. It's a lot. I was actually just kind of going, oh my gosh, I've got so much to do and I don't even know where to start. And at the end of the day, you just got to show up and dig in, and that's what I'm going to do. So my week is involved in trying to get these checks cashed. I want to make sure that we have the opportunity to get contracts on 5 of our listings this week. And how do I do it? I'm just going to market the hell out of them. And I'm going to share, get some price reductions, put them into the right hands of the right people, and hopefully we can get some contracts this week. So go make it great. It's a wonderful week to sell real estate. We are in the big time end of April. Hard to believe that almost 33% of the year has already gone. 24 is flying by. What are we doing to create the right mindset every single day? Just show up. I hate to say it over and over again, but just show up. Show up, work hard, get your details together, and I promise you great things will happen. So hope you have a great flight this week. Remember, there are exits at the exit to get out of the industry. If you don't want to do these types of things, no harm, no foul. But if you really want to be successful, come in and do it the right way. Have a great week, and I look forward to having another conversation with you next Monday.